The universe doesn't care about intentions or protocols. The Selnar science vessel Starweaver learned this truth as its quantum drive catastrophically failed just outside Earth's gravitational well. Commander Vexlua felt her exoskeleton crack as the ship slammed into the lunar surface. Emergency klaxons wailed. Copper-based blood seeped from a jagged wound across her thoracic plate. Through the pain, she processed the situation with military precision. Captain dead, navigation destroyed, 26 crew survivors, and they had crashed on the moon of the most dangerous world in the sector. Status report, she demanded, limping onto the emergency hub. The lighting flickered, casting eerie blue shadows across the frightened faces of her crew. Science Officer Mevnar's antennae quivered as he checked diagnostics. Life support operating at 42% capacity. Estimated failure in 87 planetary rotations. Communication systems. Destroyed, Commander, reported Ensign Kirith, the youngest crew member. Her iridescent scales had dulled with stress, making her look older than her 19 cycles. The primary array was sheared off during impact. Vexlua's compound eyes fixed on the blue-green sphere hanging in the viewport. Earth, the forbidden planet. Their educational archives contain nothing but horror. Humans dismembering prisoners, conducting live experiments on animals, unleashing atomic destruction on their own kind. Medical Officer Zinthar approached, administering pain suppressants to her wound. Commander, we have 8 critically injured. Our medical supplies will last perhaps 20 rotations. And our emergency beacon? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Navigation Specialist Talvik shook his head, cradling his broken arm. Beyond repair. The nearest outpost is 3 light cycles away. Even if they detected our crash, rescue wouldn't arrive for. He didn't finish. They all understood. Too late. The crew exchanged desperate glances, their thoughts identical and terrifying. The most sacred protocols in Selnar space exploration were clear. Avoid contact with humans at all costs. We should initiate end protocols, Mevnar suggested quietly. Better a dignified conclusion than, what might happen if they find us? Vexlua straightened her posture despite the pain. We are scientists of the Selnar Confederation. We will exhaust all options before considering such measures. But privately, she wondered if Mevnar was right. The archives showed humans dissecting unusual creatures, their curiosity overriding any concept of mercy. When the hub finally quieted for the sleep cycle, Ensign Kirith remained at her station, staring at the ruined communication array schematics. A desperate plan formed in her mind, one that violated every protocol they'd been taught. With trembling claws, she bypassed the standard frequencies and reconfigured the auxiliary array. If she could redirect power from life support for just 3 minutes, she might transmit a basic distress signal. It would reach Earth. It would alert the humans. What are you doing? Talvek's voice startled her. Kirith's scales flushed with shame. We'll die here if we do nothing. And we'll die worse if they find us, he hissed, but made no move to stop her. She engaged the makeshift transmitter. A simple mathematical sequence, universal in its meaning. Distress. Location. Help. As the signal beamed toward Earth, Kirith whispered, "May the void forgive me." The crew of the Starweaver Asterisk now faced 2 possible deaths. Slow suffocation as their systems failed, or whatever horrors awaited when the humans arrived. Neither possibility offered comfort as they watched Earth turning slowly in the blackness of space. Beautiful and terrifying. Movement detected. Lunar orbit. Science Officer Mevnar announced, 14 hours after Kirith's transmission. His voice quavered. Multiple vessels approaching. The Selnar crew gathered around the main sensor display, watching the unmistakable signatures of Earthcraft accelerating toward their position. Commander Vexlua stood rigidly despite her injury, her copper blood now properly coagulated. Who sent the signal? She demanded, her compound eyes scanning the crew. When Ensign Kirith stepped forward, scales pale with terror, Vexillua merely nodded. You've killed us all more quickly. That's all. The sensor pinged again. They're broadcasting, Talvek reported with disbelief. The emergency screen flickered to life. A human female appeared, dark-skinned with intelligent eyes and a calm expression. She spoke, her words meaningless until the universal translator began processing the mathematical sequences interwoven with the speech. Greetings, I am Dr. Elena Chaudhary, cynobiologist, representing Earth's First Contact Coalition. We receive your distress signal. We come unarmed. We offer medical assistance and safe passage. Silence fell across the emergency hub. It's a trap, Mevnar whispered. They want us alive for their laboratories. Vexillua touched her wound. Prepare defense protocols. Zinthar stepped forward. Commander, with respect, we have no functioning weapons. Our systems are failing. If they wanted to harm us, they could simply wait. The human, Elena, continued broadcasting. We understand you may be cautious. We will dock in 20 minutes. We bring medical supplies, universal plasma substitutes, and translation algorithms. How do they know our biology? Talvek wondered, his broken arm now splinted with ship materials. Kareth, still trembling from her confession, studied the transmission. They're sending technical specifications of their medical equipment. These are adapted for copper-based blood chemistry. They've somehow analyzed our ship's composition from orbit. When the airlock sensors indicated pressure equalization, 16 minutes later, the Selnar huddled together in the emergency hub. Vexillua stood protectively before her crew, though she could barely remain upright. The inner door slid open. 3 figures entered in sealed protective suits, streamlined, not bulky military gear. Their transparent faceplates revealed 2 females and 1 male, all carrying medical equipment rather than weapons. The leader, recognizable as Elena Chaudhary, approached with palms visible in what seemed a universal gesture of peace. We come to help, she said, the translator now functioning properly. She slowly removed a container from her pack, opening it to reveal vials of bluish liquid, synthetic coagulant compatible with copper-based hemolymph. May I treat your injured? Vexillua swayed slightly, her strength fading. Why would you help beings you've never encountered? Elena's expression softened. Because you needed it. On our world, that's reason enough. The human medical team moved with unexpected gentleness. A young male medic approached Talvek, carefully examining his splinted arm. Instead of the rough handling that Selnar expected, the human hummed a soft melody while applying a regenerative gel to the fracture. The frequency, it's soothing, Talvek whispered, surprised by the calming effect. As Elena administered treatment to Vexillua's wound, the commander studied her face. Your species, our records show you as violent, selfish creatures. Elena smiled sadly. We can be, but that's not all we are. She gestured to her team, now treating the most critically injured Selnar. We've prepared transport to our medical facility. Your entire crew will receive treatment. Outside the viewport, Earth ships had positioned themselves around the damaged Starweaver, not in attack formation, but in a protective cordon. Zinthar approached his commander. Everything we were taught about humans appears to be wrong. Vexillua finished, watching as the creatures they had feared their entire lives worked to save them with unexpected expertise and compassion. The Geneva facility wasn't a laboratory, it was a sanctuary. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Geneva, allowing natural light to fill spaces designed to accommodate the Selnar's specific environmental needs. The temperature, atmospheric composition, and lighting had all been adjusted within hours of their arrival. Commander Vexillua, her wound now properly treated, stood before a wall screen displaying Earth's historical databases, which the humans had granted her crew unrestricted access to. Science Officer Mevnar worked frantically beside her, cross-referencing their own records with Earth's history. It doesn't align, he muttered, mandibles clicking with agitation. According to Council records, humans developed spaceflight, then devolved into barbarism following their atomic conflicts. but Earth records show continuous advancement, peaceful space cooperation, and hundreds of attempts to contact other civilizations. Not just attempts, Kirith added, her young voice troubled. Look at these signal patterns. She displayed a sequence of transmissions dating back centuries. These match known galactic communication protocols exactly. They should have reached dozens of worlds. Unless they were being blocked, Vex Lewis said softly. The door slid open, and Dr. Elena Chaudhary entered with fresh medical supplies. How are you feeling today, Commander? Before Vex Lewis could answer, her personal communicator activated with an encrypted council priority signal. The holographic face of Executor Dravnos appeared in the center of the room, stern, authoritative, and unmistakably angry. Commander Vex Lewis, you have violated isolation protocols. Humans must not learn of galactic society. Your orders are clear. Maintain secrecy at all costs. Terminate witnesses if necessary. Council reinforcements have been dispatched. The message ended, leaving a heavy silence. Elena stood frozen, having understood every word through the active translator. You were ordered to kill us, she asked quietly. Vex Lewis' thoracic plates expanded with a heavy breath. I knew something was wrong with our teachings about Earth. Now I understand why. She gestured to the historical records. The Council has been deliberately isolating your planet, spreading lies about human barbarism, to keep other species away. But why? Elena asked. Look how quickly you adapted your medicine to treat us, Vex Lewis explained. Your species learns and adapts faster than any in the Council. You collaborate across national boundaries despite your differences. You're dangerous, not because you're violent, but because you're innovative. Their conversation was interrupted by Zinthar rushing into the room. Commander, the humans are arguing about us. Through the facility's observation window, they could see heated debate in the adjacent conference room. Military officials gestured emphatically while diplomats attempted to mediate. They want to quarantine you and study your technology, Elena admitted. Some see you as a potential threat. Vex Lewis watched as Elena strode into the conference room. Through the glass, they could hear her passionate address to the assembled officials. The way we treat these visitors defines humanity's first steps into a wider universe. They came in distress, not as invaders. If we respond with fear and aggression, we prove right everything negative that alien civilizations might believe about us. As the human spoke, Vex Lewis made a decision that would forever alter both their species' fates. She activated the ship's emergency recorder and began speaking. This is Commander Vex Lewis of the science vessel Starweaver. What follows is the complete truth about the Galactic Council, its deception of Earth, and why humanity has been kept ignorant of galactic society. I do this knowing I may never return home, but some truths must be told. 2 weeks after their rescue, the Selnar found themselves not as prisoners, but as honored guests. Their compound near Lake Geneva had been expanded to accommodate their needs, with specialized living quarters resembling their homeworld habitats. What surprised them most was the public response. Once the world governments had announced their presence, messages flooded in from ordinary humans everywhere. Children sent crayon drawings of Selnar and humans holding hands under smiling suns. Schools transmitted video greetings in dozens of languages. A baker in Zurich even attempted to create pastries compatible with Selnar biology. Commander Vex Lewis stood by the window, watching Earth's sunset painting the lake in hues of orange and gold that reminded her of home. It's beautiful, she admitted as Elena joined her. Our world isn't perfect, Elena acknowledged, setting down a tablet containing translation updates. We still fight wars, struggle with prejudice, damage our environment, but we're trying to be better. Vex Lewis' reply was interrupted by her personal communicator pulsing with a priority signal. The image of Council Executor Dravnos materialized, his severe features conveying displeasure before he even spoke. Commander, your new mission parameters. You will sabotage Earth's defensive grid and acquire their quantum communication technology. A retrieval vessel approaches. Complete these objectives before extraction. His tone hardened. To ensure your cooperation, your family unit has been taken into protective custody. Your mate Kelavu and offspring Neri will remain safe as long as you comply. The transmission ended. Vexlua collapsed into a chair, her exoskeleton trembling. "What is it?" Elena asked, alarmed by the alien's distress. After a moment of internal struggle, Vexlua made the hardest decision of her life. She replayed the message for Elena, explaining through a constricted throat. "My family, they're hostages." Instead of suspicion or anger, Elena's immediate response was compassion. "Then we need to protect them too." That night, in a secure conference room, humans and Selner gathered around a holographic display of the solar system. General Williams of Earth's Defense Force pointed to orbital positions as Elena explained the situation. "The Council threatens Commander Vexlua's family to force her to sabotage our defenses before their warship arrives. Instead, we're proposing a joint operation." Vexlua, still stunned by the humans' response, elaborated. "Council technology is advanced, but predictable. They rely on quantum-phased weapons that can bypass most defensive shields." Talvik, his arm now healing in a human-designed regenerative cast, noted with amazement, "You're not just helping us survive. You're planning to protect my commander's family on a planet you didn't know existed 2 weeks ago." "That's what humans do," responded a young engineer from Kenya. "We help each other. Now that includes you." As they worked through the night developing countermeasures, Vexlua observed the humans. They argued passionately, reconciled differences, and built upon each other's ideas, behaviors the Council had systematically discouraged among its subject species. The next morning, Mevnar approached his commander privately. "I've been analyzing human psychology through their literature and historical records," he reported. "The Council's assessment was partially correct. Humans are dangerous, but not for the reasons they claimed." "Explain," Vexlua requested. "The Council maintains control through isolation and fear," Mevnar said. "But humans thrive by forming connections. They're not just helping us because it's strategically advantageous. They genuinely believe helping others is right. That kind of thinking could destabilize the entire Council system." "Perhaps," Vexlua replied, watching Elena coordinate teams of scientists across multiple continents. "That's exactly what the galaxy needs." The Galactic Council warship Inevitable Justice approached the Sol system with arrogant confidence. War Commander Brenthal observed the tactical display showing a single habitable planet with primitive defenses. "Prepare pacification protocols," he ordered dismissively. "The humans will surrender the fugitives immediately upon our arrival." His second-in-command hesitated. "Commander, we're detecting unusual activity. The humans have repositioned their orbital platforms and communication satellites. Primitive adjustments. Meaningless." Meanwhile, on Earth, an unprecedented mobilization unfolded. Nations that had been adversaries weeks earlier now coordinated defense plans and shared technology. The Selnar, fully recovered, worked alongside human scientists to enhance Earth's defensive capabilities. In a repurposed CERN facility, Zinthar analyzed simulations with growing concern. "Your orbital defenses can't withstand Council weaponry. Their quantum-phased cannons will bypass your shields completely." Rather than despair, the humans responded with innovation. A young engineer from Kenya gestured excitedly at her calculations. "What if we adapt our gravity wave detectors to create a predictive targeting system? We could anticipate their weapon trajectories milliseconds before they fire." "That's theoretically sound," Mevnar admitted, mandibles clicking in surprise. "But you'd still need a way to disrupt their phase lock." A Chinese quantum physicist stepped forward. "We've been experimenting with quantum entanglement disruption. If we can identify their targeting frequency, we could scramble their phase lock." Talvik finished, excitement overcoming his usual pessimism. "It's unorthodox, but it might work." Across the planet, civilians joined the effort. Supercomputer networks were voluntarily redirected to defense calculations. Universities opened their laboratories. Retired engineers returned to service. When a crucial component shortage threatened the shield modifications, ordinary citizens turned in personal electronics to be repurposed. In Alina's laboratory, a breakthrough emerged. Her team had created a communication system that could penetrate Council encryption, allowing direct negotiation. When they tested the device successfully, Vexlua was astonished. "You created in days what took my people generations to develop," she told Alina. "That's the advantage of desperation," Alina replied with a tired smile. "It cuts through bureaucracy." As the Council ship crossed Neptune's orbit, Earth's leaders gathered for a final strategy session. The UN Secretary-General addressed the assembled officials. "This is humanity's first official contact with galactic civilization. How we respond defines us as a species. We will defend ourselves and our guests, but we will also attempt peaceful resolution first." An alert interrupted the meeting. The Council ship had accelerated suddenly, crossing the distance from Jupiter to Earth in hours rather than days. "They're trying to catch us unprepared," Vexlua explained. "Standard Council tactic." To her surprise, there was no panic. Military forces calmly took positions. The diplomatic team prepared their message. Citizens in potential target zones moved to shelters without chaos. Talvek observed the orderly response with disbelief. "I don't understand. They're not soldiers. Why would ordinary citizens remain so composed facing a superior force?" "Because," answered an elderly human physicist calibrating defense systems nearby, "on this planet, we look after our own. And now, that includes you." As the massive Council warship entered Earth orbit, eclipsing the Sun over North America, a remarkable scene unfolded in the Geneva Command Center. Humans and Selnar standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to face whatever came next, together. The Council warship Inevitable Justice hung above Earth like a metallic predator, its massive silhouette eclipsing the Sun over North America. In the Geneva Command Center, screens displayed real-time imagery from orbit as War Commander Brenthal's transmission reached every communication device on the planet simultaneously. "Primitive beings of Earth," his voice boomed with practiced condescension. "You harbor fugitives of the Galactic Council. Surrender the Xelnar criminals immediately. Refusal will result in your continent called Asia being reduced to ash as demonstration. You have one planetary rotation to comply." The transmission ended. In the tense silence that followed, all eyes turned to the United Nations Secretary-General. She nodded to her communications officer. What happened next stunned Vexlua. Rather than individual nations responding with different messages, every major capital on Earth transmitted the exact same response in perfect synchronization. The message, translated into Council standard language by Vexlua herself, was brief but resolute. "That Selnar are under Earth's protection. We propose peaceful diplomatic relations and have prepared accommodations for your representatives. We stand ready to defend our guests and our world if necessary." On the Council ship, Brenthal laughed dismissively. "Prepare the demonstration weapon. Target their eastern continental mass." "Yes, Com," his weapons officer began, then frowned. "Sir, targeting systems are experiencing interference." As the Council ship powered its main cannons, Earth's hastily assembled defenses activated. The quantum scrambling field disrupted the Council targeting systems, while the predictive gravity array allowed Earth's defensive platforms to anticipate and counter each attack vector. After 3 failed firing attempts, Brenthal slammed his fist on the command console. "Deploy shuttles. Retrieve the Selnar by force." The Council combat shuttles launched toward Earth, expecting minimal resistance. Instead, they encountered a swarm of small, agile Earth vessels that shouldn't have been capable of space combat. Each was piloted by volunteers from different nations working in perfect coordination. In the Geneva Command Center, Vexlua watched in awe as humans, supposedly primitive and selfish creatures, risked their lives to protect her crew. "Fall back," she heard Brenthal order his forces through the intercepted communications. "These creatures fight with unexpected cohesion." The Council commander's face appeared on the main screen again, this time demanding to speak directly with Vex'lua. His expression conveyed absolute certainty that she would beg forgiveness for her betrayal. Instead, he found her standing shoulder to shoulder with human leaders. "Commander Vex'lua," he snarled, "you violate your most sacred oath to the Council. Your family's fate is now sealed." Before Vex'lua could respond, Olena stepped forward. "Her family is innocent. Your hostage-taking violates civilized conduct across all known worlds." Brenthal's eyes widened at the human's audacity. "You dare address me, primitive?" "These beings have shown more honor than the Council ever has," Vex'lua declared, her voice steady despite the threat to her family. "They defend those who cannot defend themselves, not because of political advantage, but because they believe it's right." For the first time in his long career, Brenthal found himself unable to impose his will. His weapons ineffective, his shuttles retreating, he had no choice but to withdraw to the outer solar system and request new instructions from the Council. As his ship departed Earth orbit, cheers erupted across the planet. In the command center, humans embraced each other and their Excelnar allies. "This isn't over," Vex'lua cautioned during the celebration. "The Council will return with greater force." "Then we'll be ready," replied the Secretary General, her eyes reflecting determination rather than fear. Together, 3 days after the Council warship retreated, Vex'lua stood before an array of quantum transmitters in what had once been a particle physics laboratory. The equipment, Earth technology enhanced with Selnar knowledge, hummed with energy as it prepared to breach the communications barriers the Council had maintained for centuries. "Are you certain about this?" Elena asked, making final adjustments to the signal amplifiers. "The Council will consider it treason." "They already do," Vex'lua replied. Her claws tightened around a data crystal containing irrefutable evidence, Council documents, her own testimony, and recordings of Earth's defense of her crew. "The truth deserves to be heard." With a nod from Vex'lua, the transmitters activated, bypassing Council relay stations to directly reach dozens of worlds simultaneously. Her message was simple but devastating. "I am Commander Vex'lua of the science vessel Starweaver*. We were told humans wouldn't help us when we crashed, that they were dangerous, selfish primitives to be avoided at all costs. They couldn't have been more wrong." The transmission included footage. Humans treating alien wounded, defending the Selnar against Council forces, sharing technology freely. It concluded with evidence of the Council's systematic campaign of isolation and deception. The response began within hours and overwhelmed all expectations. Species that had been isolated from each other by Council manipulation established direct communications for the first time in centuries. Questions flooded in from dozens of worlds, followed by diplomatic requests. And then, most surprisingly, vessels. A Meridian survey craft was the first to arrive, braving Council interdiction to reach Earth. Its captain, initially wary, was astonished to find humans eager to share knowledge rather than exploit his technology. When his ship suffered drive destabilization during departure, Earth and Selnar teams worked together to prevent catastrophic failure. "These humans risked radiation exposure to help repair our vessel," the Meridian captain reported back to his homeworld. "Commander Vex'lua's claims are verified. The Council has deceived us all." Other delegations followed. Volocris merchants, then Hectalian scholars. Each arrived expecting primitive savages as described in Council warnings. Each departed as allies, carrying stories of human resourcefulness and compassion. The Council, desperate to contain the spreading rebellion, began military operations against worlds that had contacted Earth. This backfired spectacularly when footage of Council aggression circulated across the galaxy. Even species traditionally loyal to the Council began questioning its authority. On Earth, the alien delegations established a temporary enclave near the Selnar compound. Cultural exchanges flourished alongside technological cooperation. Human and alien children played together, learning each other's games and languages with the effortless adaptability of youth. The Council was right to fear humans. Vexilo observed to Elena as they watched a group of Vectelian youngsters teaching human children their traditional song puzzles, but for entirely wrong reasons. "What do you mean?" Elena asked. "They feared your weapons or your potential aggression," Vexilo explained. "What they should have feared was this: your ability to create connections, to build communities that transcend species. The Council maintains power through division and isolation. You instinctively unite and include." Elena considered this. "That's not uniquely human. Look at your crew now." She gestured to where Talvek was enthusiastically explaining Selnar navigation techniques to a group of human pilots, while Zinfar collaborated with Earth doctors on medical research. "Perhaps that's why they worked so hard to keep us all apart," Vexilo said softly. "Not because together we might overthrow them, but because together we might not need them at all," Elena finished. As the stars appeared above them, the first joint human-alien security patrol launched to monitor the outer solar system, a small but powerful symbol of a galaxy beginning to unite in ways the Council had never anticipated and could no longer prevent. 8 months after the Starweaver crashed on Earth's moon, the newly constructed Harmony Dome in Geneva hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations convened for the first truly independent interplanetary summit in millennia. The contrast was striking. Council representatives sat rigidly in ornate ceremonial armor, isolated from other species, while humans mingled freely with Selnar, Meridians, Volucris, and others, forming spontaneous cross-species discussion circles throughout the chamber. Grand Executor Malthor of the Galactic Council addressed the assembly first, his voice modulated to project both authority and reasonability. "While we welcome this enthusiasm for cooperation, we must emphasize the millennia of stability the Council has provided. Hasty alliances based on emotional responses rather than strategic necessity invite chaos. The Council stands ready to integrate Earth into our existing hierarchical structure with appropriate probationary periods." The chamber remained pointedly silent when he finished. When Vexilua rose to speak, she wore neither her Selnar military uniform nor Council diplomatic regalia, but simple Earth-made attire symbolizing her new role as bridge between worlds. 8 months ago, I lay dying in a crashed ship, she began, her translator conveying the emotion in her voice. Everything I had been taught told me humans wouldn't help, that they were dangerous, selfish creatures incapable of true cooperation. She gestured to the assembled delegates. They couldn't have been more wrong. When we had nothing to offer, no technology they didn't already possess, no resources, no strategic value, humans risked their lives to save ours. Several delegates nodded, having experienced Earth's hospitality themselves. When the Council threatened them, nations that had been enemies for generations united in our defense. When they learned of other species suffering under Council restrictions, they immediately asked how they could help them too. She turned toward the Council representatives. "We've been told that the Council's strict hierarchy and separation of species was necessary for peace, that some civilizations were naturally superior to others, that isolation was safer than connection." Vexilua paused, looking directly at Malthor. "Earth has proven every one of those assertions false." As she concluded her speech, the assembly erupted in approval. Species that had never communicated directly before now stood together, united not by force but by shared purpose. In the audience, Alina sat beside representatives from a dozen worlds. A Meridian diplomat leaned toward her. "Your people have accomplished in months what many of us dreamed of for centuries," he said. "How did you do it?" Alina watched as humans and aliens throughout the chamber talked, laughed, and planned together. "We didn't do anything special," she answered thoughtfully. "We just helped when help was needed. Everything else followed naturally." The summit concluded with the formation of the Stellar Cooperative, a new interspecies alliance based on mutual aid rather than dominance. Its headquarters would be built on Earth's moon, around the preserved crash site of the Starweaver *. As the delegates departed, Vexilo received an unexpected transmission. The encryption pattern was familiar, her family's private channel. "We're safe," came her mate Kelavu's voice, accompanied by visual confirmation. "The Meridians extracted us during the Council's political turmoil. We're en route to Earth now." That evening, Vexilua and Alina stood at the viewport of the lunar construction site, gazing at both Earth and the stars beyond. "Do you think the Council will accept the new reality?" Alina asked. "They have little choice," Vexilua replied. "Their power was built on keeping us apart. That foundation is gone forever." As Earth rose over the lunar horizon, Vexilua reflected on how one act of compassion had changed the course of galactic history. They had been told humans wouldn't help, and that misconception had unwittingly set the galaxy free.